All righty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast. We are a man down. He is taking some much needed reprieve, spending time with his lady. So we will continue the ship. We will continue to press forward. We will continue to pontificate the madness that is WWE. So, how are you, my guy?
Man, I am doing all right. The weekend is here. Pro wrestling is on my mind, so let's just jump right into it, my friend.
So, so now that we have this new group, we'll call it, or I don't even call it a faction because I don't have a name. But Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and the one, the only Paul Heyman. Oh man! So they basically insinuate in picking up Sami Zayn to basically give the same ultimatum that just about every faction says is you're either with me or you're against me. They basically wanted to give him an outlet to either A, you can go to SmackDown and get a title shot, or you can stay here. Obviously, he's staying here, but he paid the price. Obviously, that pretty much at the end of the show. Um, so we'll basically find out this week. I would assume. I don't know if we're gonna have a fourth member. I think it might be kind of a ghost member. I think it's really up in the air. I don't think there's anything on the dirt sheets that solidify anything valid um to what is going to become of this newfound group with what honestly seems more like the Messiah, the Monday Night Messiah persona more than the burn it down, the whole
Yeah.
everybody still sings his song, stuff like that, but I feel like the kind of character he's playing is kind of a throwback to being the Monday Night Messiah and basically claiming that he's the one to carry the vision for the company as such. Will obviously continue to, get piece by piece. Hopefully tomorrow we get some more information. We get a little more detail of what they're going to do. But until then, we will just put a pin in that one. So we've gotten Roxanne Perez, obviously faced Rhea Ripley. Obviously, Rhea Ripley won, but I tell you, good on Roxanne Perez. I feel like they just need to put her on the main roster because
Yeah.
one, she's the longest reigning person in the Royal Rumble already out the gate. She's had some good banger matches on the main roster. Um, I think honestly NXT should be done with her. I feel like there's a lot of moving parts in NXT at this current juncture, so I think her moving up. I don't know if Julia will move up, but I feel
Yeah.
like Roxanne Perez has definitely cemented herself to being, worthy of main roster.
Yeah. I think Roxanne should definitely just, be done. I think there's still a little career or life left in Stephanie and Julia being in NXT, maybe at least through the next PLE, which I think is Worlds Collide. Uh, so
I mean,
after that, I think,
Stephanie's still champ, so I mean,
yeah,
I think,
she,
and Julia's chasing that because she lost it.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
feel like
I
those are
don't,
the
yeah, I don't know if Julia's like will get like that championship back, but I think Jordan Grace probably will take it off of whomever
right.
Stephanie, if it's Stephanie or someone else, Jordan Grace has got next as NXT Women's Champion.
Yeah, I mean, and she was the TNA Knockouts champion for a while, so um, good on her. I think she's a good fit for NXT. I think she's a good fit for WWE in general. I mean, I love the mantra of being the juggernaut, like
Yeah,
just because she's built like a freaking brick, and
yeah,
and that's muscle. That ain't like anything but.
yeah,
So, um, So we get this interesting confrontation between Jey Uso and Logan Paul. I don't think this will be a Backlash match. It could be. I mean, we basically have 5 on the card, plus a possible one. We have a matchup on Friday for the number 1 contender. So, I mean, don't know exactly what we're going to get out of that. Obviously, we only have 4 matches, so I think 5 to 6 would be a suitable match amount.
Mhm.
But so I don't know how to really put this, but like, so we get the War Raiders versus Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Um, I believe I don't know if there was for a number 1 contenders or it was just for S&Gs, but I love seeing Finn Balor and JD McDonough get beat up. I love Judgment Day losing. I love Judgment Day taking L's. I know we all honestly we kind of predicted the whole Dominic Mysterio thing and as far as the IC title, and I like that they haven't shaded away from like, oh no, champions fight more. They don't take vacations. You're not Brock Lesnar, you're not Roman Reigns. So I I'm still praying on the downfall of Judgment Day. I think we all are. I think
I
it's
think
just
it's
a matter
bound. I think it's bound to happen. I don't want to see. I don't like one-sided beatdowns. Do like competitive matches, but at the same time, I do get the energy that you're expressing of like I don't like you and I don't like how you've behaved. So good on you for getting beat up by the War Raiders. So I would like to see um I would like to see Finn move on from that group. Maybe he takes uh JD, maybe he doesn't. Maybe they all turn their back on him. I just yeah, I think it's time
it's
for Finn to move on and jump into single stuff again, and see how that works for him.
yeah, for sure. So we have Becky Lynch, who
Mhm.
they obviously lost the tag team titles literally less than 24 hours later to the same people that have continued to get tag team shots. I think tag team rematches are stupid. I really just think rematches in general are stupid because you could just keep going back and forth for 2 years of getting rematches. Because you win it, you lose it, rematch. Oh, you lose it, then you win it. That person, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think rematches are stupid.
I th
I think that person or the team being maybe in a group setting of a group match to maybe win the number 1 contender spot, I think that's fine. But I don't like them just outright getting a rematch. I thought we did away with the rematch clause years ago, and we seem to be continuing to do the rematches, and it's stupid because then there's the same people just keep on exchanging the title, and it's boring.
you
You
know, I it makes sense to bring back rematch title opportunities for the story, especially if there's like an underlining story of like someone's getting their lick back from a previous story and you know, they cause a problem. Now we got a three-way match or a fatal four-way or something like that. But outside of is it good for the story? Um I think it makes sense because if you do lose a match, you should have an opportunity, especially if you were the champion and you lose to the challenger, you should have an opportunity to try to get it back. Now, do I need to see them have a best of 5 or best out of 7 series of matches? No, I
Yeah,
don't think I
it's
need to see
just
that. I think I
it.
need,
Where do you
best of
draw the line?
3,
Where do you draw
best
the
of 3,
line?
best of 3,
You
best of
know,
3,
it's yeah. Now I'm definitely I again I got I don't know if this will be on I don't know if this will be on Backlash. It might make it. Becky Lynch versus Lyra for the championship. I don't know if they're doing that on Raw tomorrow or um either way, this is going to get dealt with sooner rather than later. I would honestly like to see this on Backlash just because it is the word and it in its meaning. This is Backlash. Like they lost. Now you have to deal with the backlash. So I
Yeah,
would like to see this match at Backlash more than some of the other ones that, I think one main championship or two, like one of the men's, one of the women's, I think is feasible. We
right.
don't need to overload the card with the top tier.
But
Um,
tentatively, we do have two men's championship matches. I think that we should have.
okay, scratch that. The Becky Lynch letter is on the card. My bad.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe there's another confrontation between those two on Monday to like kind of seal the deal to like, because Becky's already like bested her a couple of times now. Lyra needs to get, her look back, like I'm saying. Um so yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
just I just don't want to have like as much as we like having every championship defended on every PLE and stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
it's all storyline based and the severity of the story as to the necessity for being on a PLE. Sometimes these are feasible to be a main event on Raw or SmackDown.
Right.
Um, so it's one of those things where it's just how invested are the fans in the story? Because sometimes the fans aren't, and they're just kind of like, well, you can put this in the middle of the show on a Raw or SmackDown and call it good.
But I think sometimes you just need to have these matches that r- relatively speaking could be on, a Raw or a SmackDown. Have them on a card because you need something to fill out the card and to tell the story and to make it seem more dramatic. So people will follow along. But I think the Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch could have their first match on Raw and, let it go amok, and night,
Yeah, I
you
mean
know,
they're getting the match at Backlash with Becky and Lyra. So I mean I think this I feel like Becky needs to win this, and
yeah.
I think we need to see it moved on, just like the United States has moved on beyond Chelsea Green finally.
They're
So
they're still playing around with the whole like the they're still playing around with Chelsea Green, not with her per se, but like with,
yeah, there's still some underlying things that are
yeah.
going on. So we get to see Stephanie Vacour again
Mhm.
on Raw, which I absolutely love. She's a star. Um I see as soon as she drops that title that she's on the main roster. I think the women's division needs a star. We seem to have been we've become very complacent on the main roster with the women we have. Um, and
I don't
there's a plethora in NXT.
you know
There's a
what?
plethora coming from Evolve.
I I disagree with we need a star on the main roster. We have several stars. We There needs to be someone who is highly competent and marketable
Yeah,
to get their stories across. And unfortunately, WWE in its long-term booking for the women's division has failed at times. And generally, I would give them a C. Sometimes they've like done really
right.
well, and other times they have failed
Oh,
miserably. And
and it's
so I would don't look at Stephanie Vercoeur or Roxanne Perez or even Julia to be the saviors of
well,
women's wrestling on the main roster
I think
when
they
yeah,
have more power than Lyra Valkyria. As much as as much as I enjoy Lyra Valkyria, I think when you have someone who has been a star on other brands and other companies in literally all over the world, I think that brings more eyes than just pulling up a couple decent wrestlers from NXT that have been there for a while and that have put in the work. So
you
like
know,
from a bit for like a business standpoint,
yeah.
I think you market the ones that are already marketable. Um
Yeah, I look at it as like I don't think Lyra Valkyria is getting over, as opposed to it has something to do with how well she works in the ring.
Yeah.
Um, I think the biggest issue is that she is not getting over in the main on the main roster like others. It's not because she doesn't have talent. It's just they haven't found a groove with her. And liken to Lyra Valkyria, for me, I see the same missteps that they're doing with Carmelo Hayes when what he was doing in NXT was working for him, and they
Hmm.
definitely need to just push that and let it be more or authentic and organic with him.
Yeah.
With Lyra Valkyria, there's definitely she's definitely needs a repackaging, maybe an alignment with someone.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, and it is tough because she's really kind of come up solo.
Hmm.
And so like that is usually a difficult thing to do, is to come up on your own, not with any endorsement from a main roster superstar. So I mean, I think honestly she's done the best with what she's been handed and what creative has done for her. I think this Becky Lynch thing, I feel like maybe we get a trifecta out of this, and maybe the end game is her Lyra gets her title back and she beats Becky or something, and then that boosts her a little bit, to beat Becky for back the title or something.
Yeah.
But I think it just comes down to stories, man. Like
Hmm.
if they can give us a compelling story that works, then it's a different reaction from the fan base. But when you have a plateaued, very complacent title reign, like I've always said, the secondary titles are very vague. They're very like it was we needed them,
Right.
but like now that we have them, it's becoming crowded. So, and I honestly think that I mean it's just creative.
Hmm.
That's all there really is to it, because they're the ones writing the notes and making plans.
Yeah.
So a lot of it just comes down to, the booking, and how you portray them. So
Yeah, and I would also say a large portion of that is fan response, and I wonder if they use merchandise sales as a metric of how well someone is doing.
I mean that's
Someone
a
might be doing extremely well on like social media and like, on screen appearances, but merchandise sales, they're really low, so they don't get a lot of in-ring time, which I think might be a Karrion Cross
yeah,
situation. Because over the past year, I would love to have seen him in the ring a lot more,
yeah,
telling stories, but we've got all these backstage
yeah, and
Bray
it's good.
Wyatt-esque manipulations,
Yeah,
and
it's very mid.
yeah, but I would say for Karrion Cross as a performer and entertainer in professional wrestling, he's not mid,
Yeah.
whatsoever. And
The story they have, what they're doing of them is mid, but like how he's performing is not.
yeah,
Like
he's
he's working with what he's got, and he's playing to get underneath people's skin. I
oh
mean,
yeah, yeah,
he's messed with more than one tag team,
yeah, he's
different
dialed,
wrestlers,
yeah,
and so like
dialed that in.
his backstage stuff is very on point.
Yeah,
It's
and definitely,
just
yeah,
what is WWE gonna do with that? Like are
you
they
know,
going,
yeah,
it's
they've got it's got to pan out for him in such a way that like Lyra Valkyria, like a Carmelo Hayes, like, Los Gaza, and some
yeah,
of the others, that there's gotta be like, "Oh, this is good." It might not be Randy Orton,
right.
greatness like yet, but we've got something here. Let's cultivate it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times that happens based upon stuff we don't see, like the merchandise sales, like,
Mhm.
someone watching how crowds react when someone comes out. Are they like jumping up and down? Are kids
Yeah.
in, so there's got to be other
It's
metrics
yeah.
involved for just that reason. And
Yeah, there has to be so much more that, like, again, that we don't see
yeah,
that's getting analyzed.
yeah.
But so Pat McAfee, obviously after that whole brawl the week prior, and like I said last time, like we said last week, I said, guess what? These indefinite suspensions never last. Now we're gonna get Gunther and Pat McAfee, which Pat McAfee is getting choked out in like 2 minutes.
I think Pat McAfee will put up a good fight. I would not be surprised if he wins, but I don't think he will. But I wouldn't be surprised if he
Yeah,
does.
it's definitely an interesting pairing, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Um, but honestly, good on Pat McAfee doing what's best for the storyline, even
Mhm.
if that's going to be taking an L at Backlash. I mean,
You know what? I don't think he cares anything about that. I
no,
think,
he just loves being there.
yeah, I think a lot of people could do better for themselves if they eventually do understand wins and losses don't make a story unless that is the story. Like
Right,
for John Cena, and I'll use that as an example. John Cena losing an opportunity to have a chance to win a championship makes sense for him to lose because it adds to the story. But for everyone else, like this Pat McAfee, it's more about attempting to give Gunther his comeuppance, and saying I'm
right.
not going to be bullied. So if he does lose, it's like, all right, it's
I mean,
Gunther,
it's yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, he's barely lost on the main roster.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
so Raw ends with basically Braun Breaker versus Sami Zayn. Obviously getting stopped by the officials. Obviously, I mean, Sammy got a bunch of curb stomps and whatnot and spears, and so clearly Sammy's not on the train. And I felt like it honestly would have been good business. I feel like for him to be like, you know what, I want to think about myself for once, and not necessarily a heel Sami Zayn, but just like a smart business. Like, hey, I can go get a championship shot now because
but like,
he's really been thwarted away from
but like
these
he's
championships.
if it's not going to be for the world, it's not going to be for the undisputed championship or the world championship. Jays. I mean, it makes sense for him to say, I'm not going to be bullied by you. I mean, we just had Pat McAfee that
Right.
same night cut a promo saying, I'm not going to be bullied by you. I'm not going to be,
Yeah.
you ain't going to run me out of my business, out of my job, out of my livelihood. I mean,
Well,
I
but
feel that for Sammy because that goes with his character basis of I'm the
his
underdog,
loyalty. Yeah.
and I'm the underdog. Yeah, and his loyalty is like, nah, man, you ain't gonna do that to me. You ain't gonna do that to the people. And like you were saying earlier today, it feels like we're getting that Messiah complex that Seth Rollins pulls off very well.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and the crowd
yeah,
still loves him.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. It's like like if it was, and it has everything. It has everything to do with the times that we live in. I think this is an important step, especially for like carving out his year-long story.
oh yeah,
But yeah,
this can fill the rest of the year easily.
yeah, that. And I would not be surprised if we don't at some point get Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins down the road, but we need to go through this journey to get there.
Well, and
Um,
yeah, and I feel like somehow like a new member would piss off him or something, and maybe that like, but like I'm all for it. Like I've been a Seth Rollins guy for the longevity through every character.
yeah.
Um, just because he's a living embodiment of being a workhorse.
You know,
He shows
yeah.
up, he's there, he puts on A plus matches, and he doesn't dip out. It's yeah.
Yeah, I am. What I like about Seth Rollins is definitely his work ethic, his confidence, his and how he's able to really bring different aspects to his on-screen character, and I can appreciate that in this context, but getting lost in the story and just watching Seth Rollins, his character is like,
Well, and he's so believable too. Like that's the
right.
thing. It's like it's like you. I don't even think this is even really a heel faction. I think this is just a faction that's egotistical, and they're like, I've been here, I've been doing this, like this, like the conversations he's had with CM Punk about, I didn't leave, I've been here the whole time, this is my brand, this is my show, I've been doing this, I've been here, and to a certain extent, he's right. Like his vision technically is kind of right. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's because you've watched him develop this character in these stories and all these different personas, I guess you could say,
yeah.
and they all encompass the same direction. And so, him being in this role is like, well, I mean, it's not wrong, and it, and it's and it,
Yeah. When y
it's yeah.
yeah, when you're given a night, and I have to say, like, he's definitely been a mainstay for at least a decade on Monday Night Raw, and you're given that night to, like, do your thing, and you've been able to succeed, and, you have success, and you've
Right.
been able to grow. I mean, to me, it makes sense. You know, yeah, it's crazy as it sounds. It's his show. It is his show. Like, you know what? It is his show. He really has done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
he's just really has done it.
it
It's wild thinking about that, and then putting in the context of, like, when he and the rest of the Shield first arrived to Monday Night Raw, the regime, he's been such a constant on this show. It's like,
well, and it's
damn,
it's
it's
like,
like,
well, and no matter
ah,
what faction has been a part of, it's always been essentially what's best for business. And I know that obviously on the flip side on SmackDown, it's a whole different mentality saying that. But like, I mean, he's done what's best for business for, like you said, the better part of 10 years. I mean, whatever character he was, he did it extremely well.
right.
And
What
and
Yeah,
and I mean, and
he's
I chalk it up to whoever is his stylist. His outfits are freaking off the wall, but
yeah.
I don't think there's a wrestler back there that could pull it off like he does.
No, you know what? There isn't anyone that can pull off this character, and the only person that I think that is marketable and close enough to do what Seth Rollins is doing is Karrion Kross. That's the
Right.
first person that comes to mind, by look, by, confidence, and just
Yeah.
by, presence, right? So, but yeah, it's like, it is his show, as crazy as it is. It's just like,
Well, and yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like I've been here the whole time. I've
yeah,
always I've always had a storyline to work with, whether it was stupid or it wasn't. I've
yeah,
always been here. But
and and I just wonder, like, if it wasn't Seth Rollins, who would it be? You know what I'm saying?
man,
And
that's a tough one to even contemplate.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
mean, if I'm being
yeah.
if I'm being bru if I'm
Yeah.
being brutally honest, I don't know who. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even think. I mean, I honestly think the next closest would be like the Miz. Now, and it's far,
But that but you're a Miz guy.
but it's a wide gap to between what he if he could pull that off. But if you really think about it, is that like the Miz he's an egomaniac, but the problem is that he backs it up, right? He was the first two-time Grand Slam champion, the first.
Yeah,
And
but
Seth was the second. And
however, like, while the Miz, you know, they had two different paths of getting to where they are. So the Miz definitely had a head start. Um,
but honestly, the Miz has always worked with what he's had to work with. I mean,
you know,
everything from the dumb characters, with him and Morrison. I mean, he being singles, him having massive balls. I mean, like he's worked with whatever he's had to work with, and I think. But the thing is but what I like about the Miz at this point in his career is that he thrives because he is helping the next generation.
you know,
She's not really chasing championships now really that often, but he's a presence in the back that has the veteran mentality, much like the plethora of veterans and Hall of Famers in the back. You know,
it's
he's helping the next generation. And the thing is with him and Carmelo Hayes is that like Carmelo Hayes is like is like Miz Jr., right? Like he's got that ego, he's got that chip, and he's gonna get he obviously won the honor the Giant Battle Royal, right? Help with the help of the Miz. And so now I see him in the next I say he'll be going for a championship come SummerSlam. I see him and the Miz thing kind of running its course for a couple months. And then him finally breaking into, let's say we have a ladder match for a championship, whether it's the IC or Intercon or the IC or the United States. I'm not sure which one's on which brand, but or the US titles on Friday SmackDown. So like I see something along those lines developing where at least he gets a shot. But so speaking of the United States Championship, so obviously LA Knight, Damian Priest have their little tussle because essentially the week prior, a lot of people were getting involved in, the match. And obviously Drew McIntyre wins essentially by default. Um, and good on Nick Aldis for kind of calling it like it is. Cause all of a sudden he's like, well, cause he talks with Solo and Jacob Fatu and back. And he's like, well, all of this is happening because of you two just acting like you're going to do whatever you want to do. And then they're like, well, fine. You know what? Backlash, you could face LA Knight and Damian Priest. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, wait. Well, technically Drew won that. So now you're facing all of these. And I love the fact that you essentially have Solo in the back seat to Jacob Fatu. Even though Solo is a good mouthpiece, but I like Jacob Fatu's promos better. Like, just the weird things he says and get what I mean?
mhm.
and all those, like, and I'm a dog walk, all those, like, and justifiably so. Now, we got to get to the elephant in the room. I don't know if you've seen the clips. So Fraxium was
Mhm.
facing Pretty Deadly, and they had a moment where I believe Kip Wilson did not kick out. And they
Yep.
basically counted it. They stopped the count like he did, and obviously it was a massive delay. And these happen, right? I mean, like these wrestlers are not perfect. Things happen. It's not a botch. It's just a miscue. There's a difference, and it happened. But honestly, for Axiom win, obviously they won. And I tell you, get ready because Nathan Frazier and Axiom are going to be tag team champions by the end of the year. I'm calling
Well,
my shot now
I
because they were absolutely terrorizing the NXT roster tag team division, and obviously Hank and Tank won, but obviously that was basically to send off Nathan Frazier and Axiom to the main roster. And I tell you, man, these guys are a draw. These guys are the crowd is oohing and eyeing and this is awesome and holy shit and all kinds of stuff because these guys literally never stop moving. Like, I mean, it's just speed move after speed move. Axiom being a luchador has plenty of move set. Nathan Frazier has the Phoenix Splash, which I don't even know how that even happens, but he does it flawlessly. Like, I don't know if you've seen the Phoenix Splash by him. He basically does this twist and a flip all in one motion into basically like off the top rope or whatever. And man, I'm glad that these guys finally got to the main roster authentically, not through the draft, but just pure talent. In the tag team division, we need that. We need just straight up tag teams. You know, back in the 90s and 2000s, we had probably 10 tag teams on each show. I mean, and now we probably have 4 or 5 on each show. So like this is going to amplify the tag team division. This is going to make it relevant again because now we have more fish in the pond. So I definitely look forward to, Fraxium as they call him, Axiom and Nathan Frazier. I look forward to the opportunities and for them to. I'm proud that they have put in the work and they have made it to the main roster, which is the goal. So good on them.
yeah.
So we get this whole brawl. We get Jade Cargill. We get Nia Jax. We get Naomi. We get Tiffany Stratton in a brawl. Obviously turns into a match. Good match. Definitely interesting that Jade Cargill pins Nia Jax, who she's supposed to have a number 1 contenders match this coming Friday. I think Jade wins this. Now, I have been very horribly critique of Jade Cargill. I've had to edit myself more times than I should.
Yep. And we
She is
thank you for that.
and she has finally gotten to that point where she's good now. I think them writing her off was not anything diminishing, or maybe she had an actual injury. I don't know exactly.
Right.
But she's come back and she's out of that shell. Okay. She, she's no longer stiff in the ring. She's no longer making mistakes. She's just going out and they're more or less like, hey, she's a powerhouse. Let's play on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Which I think is one, good on you for recognizing when people do evolve, they grow and they learn. Great on her for, really starting to come into her own, and the WWE recognizing what her strengths are, and pairing her with people that allow her to utilize her strengths while she's improving in areas that she is not as
right.
strong in. So I think it is a team effort whom she's with, the trainers that she's working with, what she's doing outside of the ring, what the WWE is doing inside of the ring, with whom they pair with her, what her story is. I think all around, these are really great improvements. And now it's the consistency that we get to see from her and the stories that they put in her. Do I think she's holding gold by the end of the year? No. Do I think that she will have some really good matches? Yes. consistency for me is really important to see because I'd rather see her be a strong performer than this, incredibly flamboyant character. Just a strong performer who can get it done in the ring, and that's what they play up to. So
Yeah.
yeah, good on her.
I
Um,
yeah, and I honestly think, I mean, she's finally hitting her stride.
yeah,
And this is just that, like, this is just pretty much how it goes in WWE, is that you hone your craft, you continue to get better, because obviously WWE is different than the rest of the brands. And so there's a different way of doing things. And I think when she came, it was this big excitement. It was this, but the problem is that her showing up on the main roster just straight up, like, that did more damage to her than good. But because she was so, like, highly sought after as the free agent, and in the acquisition, that was half the battle. Getting
yeah,
her was half the battle. And now that she's fine-tuned herself, and she's gotten insanely better, even to, I mean, the mic skills are obviously still a work in progress, but,
oh
like,
yeah,
I don't need to hear her on the mic. I'll let her do her. Like, and so, like, I don't think that's absolute necessity to her character at this juncture. Just let her cook. Let her go do her thing, say a couple things, and keep going.
mm,
Now, I honestly think that, let's just say she wins that match between Nia Jax and her on Friday. I honestly think she can beat Tiffany Stratton. Now, do I think I think the only thing holding her back is this Naomi stuff, just because there's still some gas in the tank in that matchup. And I think Naomi's gonna, if let's just say she goes to Backlash, I think Naomi's the one to thwart her from that championship,
mhm,
because again, there's still gas in the tank for that, just because it's a great long-term story booking situation. They really kind of they really got the story, and then it kind of faded, and then it kind of came back, and then, like, the encompassment at Elimination Chamber with her coming out and beating the absolute tar off of Miss Caution labels.
mm,
Like, I mean, what a good way to reintroduce her back. Like, hey, I'm back, and Bianca's freaking pissed, and she's over there freaking dying because Jade knew who did it.
yeah,
And so I think that was some great story booking, and it was great to see her, like, just before that door closes, here comes Jade Cargill. Like, I thought it was good. I thought it was honestly great. Um, I I think when you have a story that you can let marinate over time,
mhm,
and then eventually let it cook, I'm all for it. As long as
yeah,
it's done right. Because, like, it all comes, like I said, it always comes down to creative. Like, you
yeah,
guys gotta, like, semi listen to the fans, because, like, like, there's been storylines based off of the audience response. So, but I think it's good. I look forward to what they're going to do with this. Um, I think in some weird form, I think this this match for Tiffany Stratton at Backlash, I feel like it's gonna weasel its way into a fatal four way somehow. I don't know. I just have this weird feeling, just because there's four people involved in this story right now.
yeah,
It's only fitting to essentially let them all cook, because I feel like, let's just say Jade Cargill beats Nia Jax with some kind of interference from Naomi, or vice versa.
yeah.
And I just feel like we need to let these four just go. Let them
Yeah,
cook.
there's enough there are enough people in this story that it could go any direction, and they all have skin in the story. It's not just, randomly four people are like vying for this championship. There's all reasoning for them to
It's
go
because
after it.
there's little nuggets to each interaction between the
Right.
two. Like obviously Naomi's pissed at Tiffany because when she was going against Nia, there was that tension, and then you have the Tiffany versus pretty much everyone, because she's holding the belt, and then you have the Jade and Naomi stuff, and then like there's all these little seeds planted
Yep.
amongst the whole four, and I feel like the best would just let the four cook at Backlash. I hope,
If
but
if they let them,
yeah,
you know.
it's a giant if, but I mean, I I see Tiffany walking out if it's going to be a singles match. I see Jade walking out if it ends up a fatal four-way. So that's just my prediction.
Yeah.
But so Aleister Black is the greatest actor of all time. He is still playing the eye injury from 5 years ago.
I mean, I
And
know, yeah.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
there's that attention to detail would get lost on,
oh yeah, it's
a mid wrestler, right?
because
But
he even brought that to AEW too. So like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a and
And then
he's a man of few words.
yeah.
He lets his wrestling do the talking. Because I don't think he's picked up a mic in the last since he came back. So it's more or less like, hey Miz, here's Black Mass done, and then obviously Aleister Black does the same thing, you know, on SmackDown last week, and gives him a man that kick though
That's
that
a
kick
I
that kick
that's
if off
yeah.
by a smidgen that could really like bust someone's nose.
Yeah,
Because he
that
swings that.
yeah.
Like
He
that
does
that ain't
not
just that's not a
yeah.
super kick. Like that's a literally a full ass twist and kick.
Yep.
Like
He does
so
an incredible job putting that kick where it needs to be, and it looks very great on TV. I'm sure it looks exceptional in person. And you're right, if someone is off their mark, someone's actually going to wake up later. So
counting ceiling tiles.
yep. So yeah, he's it remarkable, very, very good. And especially to use that as your finisher, you know, that says a lot about, the company that you are in, you as a performer. Yeah, so kudos to him. I'm glad
And
he's
it
back.
and it
Yeah,
looks good every time.
yeah.
Now, did the Miz kind of oversell? Yeah.
But
But
I
like
mean,
but I
yeah,
mean, but like
it's
it
it's
works.
yeah, it's wrestling. I mean,
It's theatric. It's
yeah.
theatrics. I mean,
I'm
how many times did somebody oversell the stunner? I mean,
You know what? If
like
someone kicked me like that, I would oversell so I didn't get kicked again. You know what? Yeah. So yeah, no,
it's but
I don't
like
want that problem.
I love it though. And I think honestly, like I said, at this point in time in the career of Miz, he's having fun.
Yeah,
And because he
yeah,
has nothing left to prove really in his career. I mean, so now he's just basically kind of doing what he does. Now, Zelina Vega versus Piper Niven was definitely a David versus Goliath situation. Now, I think it's kind of goofy that Piper Niven is wrestling in a suit.
Hmm.
I feel like for the sake of a match, you should at least have ring gear on.
you know,
But
do do you
how
do
they're
you
doing this
remember
right now? What's up?
do you remember that IRS storyline that they were doing
Oh
years
yeah,
ago with Bray Wyatt's dad and
yeah,
then Ivory? They were wrestling kind of like in suits.
yeah.
And
That's
then
like the
there's
shirt and ties and suspenders and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
then, like, Reverend Devon and, Deacon Batista or whatever have you. I
yeah.
mean, it's
Now that you mention those, that's just let it ride.
yeah.
Let it ride.
It's just like,
But
you
like,
know,
but
like
honestly though, good on Selena Vega. Okay,
yeah,
good for her. Like that she's the US champion. Like good on her. Like really, she's worked her ass off.
yeah, yeah,
Don't work off too much of your ass. But
yeah,
like but no, it's like it's been insane. It's kind of been a whirlwind like of her career, back when she was just essentially the manager for Andrade,
Hmm.
and all that, and kind of playing second fiddle and kind of the background character, and finally kind of working her way into being a regular wrestler and everything else. Like, good on her. So, and honestly, like she put on a good match. Like, take nothing away from this match. Honestly, it was definitely a very like seemingly one-sided affair, but obviously, you know, Chelsea getting involved in, or I don't know if it was Chelsea or it was Alba Fire that got, or Isla Dawn, whatever freaking one it is. But that got on the rope, and Piper Niven just freaking rocks him off the side rope. But yeah. So I mean, good match.
Yeah.
Now Randy Orton comes out and just basically puts John Cena on blast. And
Hmm.
I don't think there's a more intense wrestler in the last 30 years than Randy Orton. Like
When
his
yeah, when
veins are
Randy
popping,
Orton, yeah,
his
when he's
veins are
worked up,
popping, his face is like blood red. Like I don't think anyone like just has that switch. You know, it's like I don't even think Goldberg could do that. Like, yeah, he
no,
had the whole smash your head into the friggin' door and then come out and whatever, but that was just like the entrance. That wasn't like his character in the ring and stuff. And like cutting promos, like Randy, man, friggin' 25 years you've been doing this, like, and freaking veins are popping, like his face is just blood red, like, man. And he is going to punt John Cena's head through the gateway arch.
do it.
So
I dare you. I
like
dare you, Randy.
I freaking
So yeah,
and honestly, like the things he was saying was so valid in retrospect. Like, just about like, always trying to pander, to putting on new freaking ring gear all the time and selling merch and like and kind of selling his soul to the business, and it's like 20 years of booking. Like if you really think like how he presented this was like, I've been watching this since day one. The pandering to management, the pandering to the business, basically, his armbands, his headbands, his shirts, his jorts, like everything. Like he just ran the gauntlet on what seems to be a little bit of truth bomb to John Cena. Kind of like this has been brewing for 20 years. So I'm looking forward to the match. Like literally that thing that like this match is WrestleMania. Like this is this is not just two schmucks. Like these guys have 31 championships, just the world heavyweight, not even secondary.
right.
31 between the two of them. Like damn. Like tail of the tape. Like, so I absolutely look forward to this match cuz this is going to be, I know you don't like it, but there's going to be some kickouts of finishers.
Yeah, I think this match could be an exception to not liking it, but at the same time, I don't think this match is going to live up to the expectation of, John Cena's the greatest of all time or Randy Orton deserves it. I think what this match will do in the story that it tells is that John Cena is doing his best to lean into this heel run, and
Yeah.
Randy Orton is showing why he'll eventually tie John Cena before he retires.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a feel good. Hey, let's just run it back one more time
Well,
type of.
exactly. I mean, it's his last year, I think, but honestly, like it was kind of some good build to it though. Like just the fact that like 2 weeks ago when John Cena was all talking and he was talking smack and then here comes Randy Orton, who actually somebody got a video of like him pretending to be a stagehand and going on the stage, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's like I mean I would say it's definitely gonna be an A+ match. Now, how good it will be, I guess, will be the crowd's reaction, but
Yeah, definitely.
so so Ray Phoenix took Rey Mysterio's place at WrestleMania. Obviously, he lost. Santos, being the mouth that he is obviously given him crap about losing, blah blah. And I I don't think Ray Phoenix is one to mess with because Santos ain't done shit in years. Like
You know,
I'm surprised he didn't get released or Los Garza.
I think they didn't get released because of what they are going to the push that they're trying to do for Mexican for Mex in Mexico, and for Mexican wrestling. I think that it makes sense for them not to get released, especially when there's story for them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I would have booked Ray to lose at WrestleMania, but everyone takes an L in the WWE.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean
uh,
that's
but
I really
you know,
hope that like we get a solid year of Penta and Ray Phoenix, and then maybe into next year we get them as a tag team.
yeah.
Because man, that would be a good ass tag. I mean, they already
So
are brothers,
I
but
you know what? I would not be surprised if they actually have a match or a series of matches between the two of them because they have really great chemistry in ring when they are against each other, and obviously because they're brothers. But
well,
I think that would I think that
they're
would be a
on
good
different
way to
brands.
yeah, I think that would be a good way to reunite them is through a story like that and then have them, go ahead and
Yeah.
just take everybody's championship gold as a tag team. Um, but yeah, I think it works.
So as of now, Backlash, we essentially have 5 matches. I feel like there's got to be one more in the books somewhere. Actually, I think we have 5, if I'm reading correctly. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what is the outcome. We have obviously John Cena, Randy Orton. We have Lyra versus Becky Lynch. We got Gunther versus Pat McAfee. We have the Fatal 4-Way for the United States Championship. And then we also have the 5th match being the winner of the Nia Jax and Jade Cargill match, which I said again, I feel like will end up being a Fatal 4-Way because there's too much going on with all 4 of them. But now I don't think with the card that it is, we're not getting Jay and Logan Paul. I know that's been on the prediction. So I just trying to figure out, wrap my head around the the could be the 6th match. Maybe they only go 5. But we'll wait and see. We got one Raw and we got one SmackDown. Anything can happen. Now, to the extra big elephant in the room, a whole slew of WWE releases. Some from NXT, some from the main roster, some that were kind of on the rise, which I don't even know why they even cared to mention like Evolve wrestlers as releases. But so Braun Strowman, Cora Jade, Dakota Kai, Danny Miller, which I actually don't know who that is. Eddie Thorpe from NXT, Gigi Dolan from NXT, Jakara Jackson from NXT, Javier Bernal, I think, was on an Evolve, Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang. They actually kind of got demoted to like Evolve. So I kind of by this release. Javier Bernal, I think, was also involved. Katana Chance and Caden Carter were one of the few women's on the tag team, which they're gone. Kiana Carver, I'm not sure who that's from. Ora Mensa was also part of Metaphor, which also they had a moment last week at NXT where they're like, hey, we're going to go our separate ways, which obviously makes sense in retrospect now that Jakara got released, Ora Mensa got released. No real surprise. Riley Osborne. Now, this is a surprise in Shayna Baszler.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
that truly surprises me because I thought her and Zoe Stark had a good thing going.
Yeah. Even without
Obviously,
Sonya Deville. Yep.
yeah. And so, like, I thought that's kind of a killer to the women's tag team. So, and then Shotzi, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not,
Shotzi is a little bit of a surprise. Who I'm more surprised about, obviously, Shayna Baszler. I'm more surprised about. Um, Dakota Kai.
well,
I'm surprised about
Sonya
as
just
well.
didn't renew her Sonya just didn't renew her contract.
Yep, they didn't
So,
redo. Yeah, same with Shotzi. They didn't renew Shotzi's contract, or they weren't going to offer a renewal or an extension or anything. The same thing with Sonya Deville. So I get that. I understand that. And yeah, there are always going to be releases, and it's something that we should, always understand and know. I mean,
but like Braun Strowman though, like
you know, Braun Strowman, I think, is someone. Yeah, I don't get Braun Strowman either. Now that I think about it, he is a bit older. However, I would like to say that he's around the same age as a Damian Priest.
yeah.
So if it's just age related, then one would have thought you would have released Damian Priest as well.
Well,
And if that's the
yeah,
case, LA Knight
yeah, he's
or
older, but
Randy, or yeah, if they're just going on age, I think it has more so to do with where they're going, and they have a couple of big men that they can use in place of Braun Strowman. Um, unless there was like some type of other metrics that we don't see going on with these releases. Um, Yeah, you know what? There are a handful of people that I'm surprised. So again, Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, um, Cora Jade, um, Gigi Dolan, not so much.
I think
Tara Jackson and the other woman.
I think Cora Jade did something wrong.
I
I
heard,
just feel like
yeah,
Cora Jade did something wrong to get released because she literally just was on Raw or SmackDown the other day
mhm.
when that Io Sky match and everything. And so like I think she fucked up. I think she did something wrong.
I
And
I don't know. So I
because
did,
there's other NXT stars that should have gotten released up more than her.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there was a development issue with her. I did see a quick post online saying that several people had development or talent issues or training issues where they just hit a wall where they were going to be, and there was no there it didn't make any sense to reinvest or invest more into them when they could just release them. There was one person that was released that it wasn't related to wrestling, so it had to do with something else why he was released. Eddie Thorpe, um I could see why Eddie Thorpe would get released. um, Going into business for himself during promos um, is one reason why to easily get released. I think his character was stagnant, even though he's really good in the ring.
Yeah, I think that's the story. And obviously, like, the Lash legend is on the rise, and Jakara is holding her back. Oro Mensa, honestly, was again like just kind of a background character. And then when the ironic thing is that Noam Dar just returned to win back, I think, his third Heritage Cup
Hmm.
against Lexus King. And I think it was just kind of a weird because I feel like Lash, honestly, she's been on the main roster a couple times, stuff like that. So I feel like they're gonna have her run solo and see
Yeah,
what happens. Um, if nothing happens, I feel like she'll be released by the end of the year.
you know,
But I feel like we're not gonna have our second round of releases until probably September, October.
yeah,
Now I don't know who those will be. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's always. I think it's always unfortunate that we see, people losing their jobs, their careers, what they know how to
well,
do. But also too, at the same time, it's good for professional wrestling because now these persons can explore new opportunities. We can, new characters can be developed, and we can now directly support them
yeah,
and cheer them on and follow their careers without being inside of the WWE machine.
yeah,
So,
and I'm sure they'll find their footing. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like anybody who's in the wrestling business will find their way. So,
yeah, yeah,
but
definitely.
we'll wait and see. We'll see what if we get any new matches outside of the one on SmackDown. We'll see this week. Backlash is Saturday, so we will wait and see. We will put a pin in this as we do, and we will just see what happens this week. We'll definitely get back next week with the match outcomes and did we agree or we disagree. So we'll just, I don't know, deal the cards were dealt. So this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.